Start off, first question, can you just describe the overall situation in Caracas and Venezuela and what our people are saying on the streets?
Well, there's an overall sadness in the air in Venezuela at this moment. We have to remember that over half of Venezuela's population, they voted for President Chavez and they see him as a father figure almost. And with his death, the sense that you get on the streets is that they have just lost a father. So there is tremendous sadness within a large population of the country. On the other hand, you also see acts of almost celebration. Those who oppose Chavez feel that with his death, perhaps a new Venezuela, a new era will be able to start. So we are facing these two feelings, that of sadness and mourning, and that of celebration in some cases.
Can you tell us what's next for Venezuela in terms of the presidential succession?
Well, the Constitution says that in the absence, in the complete absence of the presidency, it should be the president of the National Assembly, in this case, Diosdado Cabello, whom should run the country and call elections in 30 days. However, since the Justice Tribunal, the Supreme Justice Tribunal, they said that there was a continuation of Chavez administration. Therefore, the one that will keep on running the government is Vice President Nicolás Maduro. He, however, has to call elections in 30 days. So that's more or less where we are right now. We will be having elections supposedly in 30 days. The opposition most likely will be running with their former candidate, Enrique Capriles, and Nicolás Maduro will also most likely be the government's candidate. That was Hugo Chávez's last wish. A matter of fact, that's what he said publicly. Those were his last wishes, his televised wishes for Nicolás Maduro to become his successor.
And I know it's kind of early, but could you say what the effect of Chavez's death will be on Venezuelan-Iran relations?
Well, we have to remember that after these 14 years, he was able to fully articulate the relations between Venezuela and Iran. It pretty much will depend on who wins the upcoming presidential elections. If Nicolás Maduro wins the elections and becomes president, we can pretty much expect a same line with Iran. On the other hand, we can expect also going into the next question, which is the relations between Venezuela and the U.S. It's pretty much the same answer. Depending on who wins the next presidential elections, we will have one route or we will have another one. We have to remember that yesterday, Nicolás Maduro publicly expulsed from the country the military attaché, David del Monaco, because he apparently was speaking with military in Venezuela, trying to find out how things were within the military. So that goes against the treaty signed, and he was expelled. He has 24 hours to flee the country. A matter of fact, at 4 o'clock today is when those 24 hours are due. So to summarize a little bit the answer, depending on who wins the next elections in the country, we will have one way of having relations with Iran and the U.S. or another one.
And also in terms of U.S. Venezuela reactions, do we see any? They're huge trading partners, but do we know what's going to come next for them too, or is that going to depend on the elections as well? Same answer.
In my personal opinion, money talks here, and the U.S. is Venezuela's #1 oil customer. So as long as we have the outflow of oil to the U.S. Pays their bills. There's always going to be the rhetoric back and forth But it all boils down to business. Venezuela has the oil. The U.S. needs it. We send it. They buy it. They're pretty much going to be, they're going to stay in those terms. As long as the U.S., the way Venezuela, the Venezuelan government sees this, as long as they don't meddle within the Venezuelan affairs, I think everything's going to be pretty much okay. And the same status quo will remain.